for a quick one. Kong, seeing Stanley approach the war hero, decided to be neighborly. "Hey, Pop, you with these folks?" Stanley looked at Kong. "Pop? Who are you calling Pop? You overgrown refrigerator." Kong's face darkened. "Excuse me?" "You heard me," Stanley snapped, the toothache making him reckless. "I've got a pain in my jaw bigger than you. Why don't you go find a forest to stomp in?" The entire bar gasped. Jack watched in horror as Kong stood up, his face turning a dangerous shade of crimson. "What did you say to me, old man?" "I said bug out," Stanley shouted, shaking a fist. "I've survived 2 wars and a marriage to Helen Roper. You don't frighten me." Kong looked at the war hero Jack, then at the fearless Pop. He seemed genuinely confused by the sheer audacity of the apartment building's residents. He threw his hands up in frustration. "I'm getting out of here. This place is full of lunatics." As Kong stormed out, Stanley turned to the roommates, looking triumphant. "See that? You gotta show 'em who's boss. Eyeball to navel, that's the trick." "Stanley," Jack said, his voice full of awe, "you were incredible." "It was the brandy," Stanley admitted, suddenly looking tired. "And the peas. Mostly the peas." Chapter 11, The Vanishing Envelope. The high of the hero incident lasted exactly until Monday morning, when reality came crashing back in the form of a rent deadline. $300, Jana said, staring at the empty white envelope on the kitchen table. "Jack, tell me you moved it." Jack looked up from his bowl of cereal. "Moved what?" "The rent money. The $300 in cash we've been saving for a month. It was right here on the shelf, under the transistor radio." Jack stood up, his face turning pale. "I didn't touch it. I thought you had it." "I don't have it," Jana cried. "And I know I didn't move it." They both turned to look at Chrissy, who was wandering into the kitchen in a state of morning fog. "Chrissy," Jana said slowly, "did you touch the rent money?" Chrissy blinked. "The money? Oh, yeah, when I took the radio." "You took the radio?" Jack asked. "Yeah, it was broken. It only played static and a very loud buzzing sound. So I took it to the repair shop this morning before work." "And the money?" Jana gripped the edge of the table. "The white envelope that was under the radio?" "Oh," Chrissy's eyes widened. "I just left it there, on the empty shelf." "Why? Is it gone?" "It's gone, Chrissy," Jack shouted, throwing his hands up. "It's been stolen. We've been burgled." "But the door was locked," Jana said, though a flicker of doubt crossed her face. "Wasn't it?" "I was the last one out," Jack admitted. "And I might have been distracted by a very interesting squirrel in the courtyard. I can't be 100% sure the deadbolt clicked." "We have to call the police." Jana grabbed the phone. The police arrived an hour later in the form of Officer Dalton, a man who looked like he had heard every excuse in the history of Los Angeles crime. So Dalton said, his pen poised over his notepad, "You left $300 in cash, in a white envelope, marked rent, on an open shelf, near an unlocked door." "It sounds bad when you say it like that," Jack said. "It sounds like a fairy tale," Dalton retorted. "No signs of forced entry. No other valuables missing. You still have your television, your stereo, even your collection of velvet paintings." "They're vintage," Chrissy protested. "Look, Sammy," Dalton said to Jack, "I wasn't born yesterday. You're a student, right? Behind on the rent. This is the oldest trick in the book. Officer, I swear, a ghost stole the money. You have to tell my landlord so he doesn't evict me." "It's not a trick," Jonna cried. "We're telling the truth." "Sure you are," Dalton said, closing his notepad. "Next time, if you're gonna fake a burglary, break a window, throw some chairs around, make it look like you tried. You kids are lucky I don't run you in for filing a false report." As the officer left, the roommates stood in the middle of the living room, feeling the walls closing in. "He didn't believe us," Chrissy whispered. "He didn't even read us our rights." "Forget the rights," Jack groaned. "Roper will be here in 2 hours, and he warned us last month. No money, no apartment. We're going to be living in the Regal Beagle parking lot." Chapter 12. The Bureaucratic Maze. "I have an idea," Jack said, pacing the room with renewed energy. "There's a financial aid department at the cooking school. They give emergency loans to students in need. I'll go down there and tell them our story." "Will they believe you?" Jonna asked skeptically. "I'll make it sound even worse," Jack said. "I'll tell them I have to weak, defenseless girls depending on me for their very survival. I'll tell them we're eating grass and drinking rainwater." "I don't eat grass," Chrissy noted. "It makes my throat itchy." "It's a metaphor, Chrissy." Jack dashed down to the school and found himself in the office of Mr. Travers, a man who looked like he had been carved out of a block of institutional beige. "Mr. Travers," Jack began, putting on his most pathetic face, "I am a man in crisis. My home has been violated. My rent money, the fruit of my roommate's hard labor, has been snatched away by the cruel hand of fate. And a burglar." Travers adjusted his glasses. "I see. And you say you share this apartment?" "With 2 lovely, hard-working girls," Jack said. "They look to me for guidance, for protection. Without this loan, they'll be out on the street, vulnerable to the elements and the weirdos." Travers leaned back. "To girls, you say? And what do they do?" "One is a typist," Jack said. "The other works in a flower shop. They're like sisters to me. Very. Platonic sisters." "I see," Travers said, tapping his chin. "Well, Mr. Tripper, as a student here, you certainly qualify for emergency aid. We don't care about your private arrangements. This is the 70s, after all." Jack beamed. "So I get the loan." "Just one more thing," Travers said, pulling out a thick